Hello, everybody, and welcome to the 13th episode of Elder Zoomers Gaming Guild podcast. How are we doing tonight, boys? We've
I'm
got
tired.
yeah, Friday night. Woo! We're getting
Recently
there.
recovered sick boy.
Yeah.
No clubbing. No clubbing, that's for sure.
Hey, man, you look great for being sick, though. I'll be real.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it. I feel pretty good. I feel way better than I felt yesterday, man. Yesterday I thought I was on death's
Yeah,
doorstep,
you
and
were
now
you were sleeping most of the day yesterday, right?
that's the best medicine. Sleep is the best
Yeah,
medicine.
there you go, dude. Sleep it off.
That's funny.
Sleep it off.
I didn't even know you were sick. I just knew you were finally replying to my texts like in a timely manner. So I was like, oh, cool.
Yeah, no, he was asleep like the entire day yesterday. He skipped Thursday.
Skipped Thursday once I got home from work.
Yeah.
Came back home, crashed until 11. Woke up at 3 a.m. again after falling asleep at 11, and then crashed again. Woke up at 8, and then woke up, did some stuff, took another nap, and then went to Lizzie's place. Came back here, just took another nap again. You know, and I've been throwing Gatorade and electrolyte solution and turmeric and ginger and emergency and all the
COVID.
Well, actually went and got a COVID test.
Get
so
well.
Fair enough.
Operation Get Well before shebang tomorrow.
Yeah.
I
So
thought that was today.
no, well they have it today, but it's also tomorrow.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
You're
But
going?
anyway, yes.
All right. So jumping into our first topic, I think the getting the big one out of the way first, we learned that Starfield and Redfall have been delayed until from 2022 to the first half of 2023. Now, I will say Redfall, all we had was an announcement trailer, and that was it. So, and that was like a year ago. So I feel like that was never really going to come out this year. I feel like, but Starfield was a big one because they did have a release date, and it was the 11th year anniversary from Skyrim's release date. It was November 11th, 2022. So I feel like they kind of planned that one and we're trying to make it a big deal, and then it gets delayed, which is obviously never fun. And Twitter has been kind of on fire since then.
Yeah.
Twitter needs to shut the fuck up, honestly.
Well,
Yeah.
you know, can I give my opinion on the
Yeah,
whole
dude,
like,
go for
gaming
it.
delay thing?
Yeah, that's why we're
you know,
here.
my opinion, that's very true. Actually, my opinion about the whole gaming delay thing, for across all studios, is it's better than them putting out a half-assed game by a certain due date. That has always been
Yeah.
my opinion.
100%.
You know, I don't have any
absolutely.
problem with a game being delayed. Really, there's no game that I must have by a particular time. I'm sorry, like maybe that's just me. I'm not a diehard. I've never been that much of a diehard gamer, and there are people out there who are like, "What the fuck? I want that game now." But even if I'm really, really hyped for a game, I just know in my head like it's better for it to be delayed and have better work put into it than to get a sloppy game.
People who demand games now are children or people who haven't experienced the past decade of gaming.
Seriously, well, and
Honestly.
especially the last couple of years, I feel
Exactly.
like with COVID and everything, that's when we saw like almost every game get delayed.
And games that were released in shitty, horrible, broken states.
Yeah.
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 No, we don't want another situation like that, and I think Bethesda knows that a lot of people are really excited for Starfield. I mean, this is their first big IP in a really long time. We've had Elder Scrolls and Fallout for years and years and years, and we're finally getting something new.
Yeah.
And it's a big deal. They need to make it good. So I think it's disappointing, and a lot of people on Twitter are like, well, Xbox doesn't have any big games coming out this year now, because Stalker 2 was supposed to come out earlier this year, and then that got pushed to the fall. So and then we had Starfield in the fall, and now that's pushed back. So I mean, it's looking a little dry this year, but I mean, it is what it is. I mean, you know.
I mean, as much as like gaming has consumed my existence at this point, I really don't care. Like, I'll always come back to it. That's like my main hobby. But I can go like, I mean, I've got a new book coming out that I've been dying for. I'm just in the middle of a reread of the previous few right now. So it's like I have other things to do.
it feels like it's
Yeah.
easy to find other
Beat
things to
the
do, and if you
game.
absolutely run out of games besides this one that you were really looking for and it gets delayed, there's other things to do, dude.
Well, and there's always a
Yeah.
backlog too. There's always those games.
True.
It's like, oh, I never played those, and I want to get to
Yep.
those, and then we go back and play them. I mean, Peyton and I are playing Back for Blood now. The game came out in like October, and we're cranking through it right now. I mean,
I just modded Valheim for the first time, so I'm trying that out. It's pretty
There
good.
you
Like,
go.
I mean,
Yeah, you
there's
can always come back
stuff
to
you
Valheim. You can.
yeah, there's always other things to play.
Worst case scenario, you play some GTA 5 again.
Yeah, on the third generation of consoles.
Exactly. Yeah.
fuck that.
Another thing I have people I've seen from people is that part of the value of Game Pass is that you get first party games day and date, right?
Mhm.
But is Game Pass Ultimate's value depreciating when there's not, there's first party games that keep getting pushed back?
Okay, I
That's
can see
another
that.
thing. That's another thing I've seen, and
That's
it's
an
a valid
interesting
it's a
thought.
valid argument. I
Mhm.
mean, eventually
fair.
these games are going to come out, but you want to be at a point where every 2 or 3 months you have a new game coming out from this studio. For me personally, Halo Infinite is a game that I would have paid $60 for had
Mhm.
the campaign not been in Game Pass, because the multiplayer was free to play. It was free for everyone. But if you
Yeah.
had Game Pass, you got the campaign for free. So, and I think that's why they made Halo Infinite an open world, was to make the value. They tried to make it more worth $60 because, again, multiplayer is free. So, for me, it's like, well, Game Pass Ultimate saved me $60 right there, because I would have paid $60 for that game. I've bought every new Halo day one since I've had an Xbox. So, but and at Starfield, same thing. I probably would have paid $60 for that game, but since it's going to be included in Game Pass, that's an additional $6 you don't have to spend. But when these games get pushed back, it's like, well, how much money am I getting for my Game Pass Ultimate subscription now?
But I feel like that's accrued. Like it has to be. Like Game Pass is all about aggregate options, right? I think it's not just like if one game isn't available on Game Pass because it got delayed. Like it's not like you're gonna get us. I mean, I guess you could possibly get a string of 5 games delayed that were slated to be on Game Pass, and like I would say that would devalue Game Pass a little bit, but it's not like it would be permanent. You wouldn't have
Yeah.
people that gave up on Game Pass because of that. I think.
Am I wrong, or isn't that the situation we actually have right now? Like, games are consistently being pushed back, so now we have like a list of games that aren't coming to Game Pass till later.
See, that's the thing,
Yeah.
man. Is it's like I have a life. I don't even know. Like
I know. It's just
Yeah,
just,
well,
I'm just trying to make the
man.
argument that yes, it is being depreciated exactly how you're describing right now.
yeah.
And if that's the case, I would say it's being depreciated. Yeah, I would.
Yeah,
I'll
a little
stick by
bit,
that.
a little bit. I mean, the thing about Game Pass is that they always do third-party deals as well. Games that aren't made by Microsoft, but they, get them and put them in Game Pass. The Guardians of the Galaxy game that came out last October, that was thrown into Game Pass, and it's like, hey, well, something I can go and play now. Actually, a great game, by the way, if you haven't played it. But I mean, so you're always going to have those deals, and other older games that come into the service, and even Microsoft may take a game that's not made by them and put into the service day and date, which one of those that's actually coming up is Sniper Elite 5. I love the Sniper Elite games. I've played them all, and the 5th game is coming out, I think it's May 25th, something like that, sometime at the end of this month. And even though that's not a game that's made by Microsoft, it'll be in Game Pass the day it comes out. So, there's deals
cool.
like that, that still come about. So I think that helps. And when these games get delayed, it makes me hope that Microsoft will start trying to acquire more third-party deals, so that way they can kind of try to fill in those gaps, where their games would have.
Yeah, I totally agree.
They can say, okay, let's get. I mean, I don't know when that Activision deal is going through, but maybe the next Call of Duty will be in their day one, and for all the people that.
I haven't looked up this in a while, but I mean, that's got to go through a lot of like legal stuff too. I think it's like a 2027. No, that's too long. But like years in advance.
They said the deal will close before the end of their first or second physical quarter of 2023 or something like that.
Really?
Which
That
is
fast?
estimated to be sometime like May, June of next year, I think is what they're looking at right now. I probably worded that incorrectly, but
No, I got
that's
what you mean.
that's the time frame that I've heard people say. People who
I
are
thought they were, like-
actually financial analysts and know how this stuff works, because the FCC, it's got to pass through all
Yeah.
that. All
I thought they were like legitimate like legal battles. Like this is too close to monopolizing.
There have been talks from people that it could get delayed. That is possible, but as of right now, so far, out of the hoops that they have jumped through, it's gone smoothly so far.
Okay.
So that could still happen. It's not, it's not out of the realm of possibility yet. But as of right now, I think so far the process have gone smoothly. But there have been, even political figures have come out and said, we don't know about this. It could get pushed back. So that
Politicians play games too.
Yeah.
I like
Name
to think
one
that that's
besides
what
AOC.
I like to think that that's what Congress does in their free time, is they all sit around in a land party.
No, they all do coked out sex parties. Remember?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and then eyes wide shut too. But anyway.
Yeah. So I think there's definitely some concern to be had there, but again, we do still have the Xbox and Bethesda conference coming out in June, so hopefully they'll address that and maybe give us
That's
a
pretty
new
soon,
date that's
actually.
more concrete. Yeah, or it's either June or July. Was it July? I don't know. One of those 2 months. But also we are hopefully supposedly getting some kind of news about what other games are coming to Game Pass to kind of help put a band-aid on the wound that we aren't getting Starfield this year.
Yeah.
Hopefully, we'll see.
That's the other thing, is it depends on how big the game is, and Starfield's been a game that's been anticipated for a long time, so I can't understand people's like frustrations.
The other thing
It's
too
not for
is
lack
that,
of understanding.
Well, think about it like this, man. Cyberpunk. If this thing
Yeah.
is in the same boat that Cyberpunk was, putting out hype for however many years, like you don't want to fuck with that.
Yeah.
You do not want to release it too early.
No,
you do not.
Cyberpunk should have been pushed back at least another year, probably a year and a half. I mean, it's pretty good now from what I hear, but
yeah,
it's
now
been a
it's
year.
decent. Now it's where it should have been at launch. But I think you saw, Nico, that thing I sent an iMessage about one of the Starfield devs. I think it was one of the devs saying, they like the term that was floating around the office was cyberpunk situation, because they didn't think the game was going to be ready by then, and rather than release it anyways, they said let's delay it. And I think it sucks, but I think in the end it's a good thing.
Honestly, the issue here, the only issue here, in my opinion, is that they announced a release date to begin with.
They shouldn't have done that.
That was
And
the
Bethesda
only mistake they made.
Bethesda doesn't typically do that. So
Exactly.
They shouldn't have done that. And I feel like that wasn't their decision to put out a release date. I feel like that was Microsoft, but I could be wrong on that.
Probably.
I could be wrong, because again, that's not Bethesda. Skyrim, Fallout 4, those all were, their release dates were announced like 4 or 5 months before the game came out. Like they knew it was ready by then. And both of those games still had bugs in typical Bethesda fashion. But
we loved them.
My God. When I went to like mod Skyrim for the first time, I didn't know this. When you mod Skyrim, you have to literally go in and manually delete lines of code and modify shit in the Dawnguard DLC. That's just in the DLC. Otherwise, it'll break the game. Before you even actually add any mods, it's just like straight like base game shit that you need to fix by yourself before you actually do it. That's how fucking weird these games are. It's so stupid.
But we love them for it, man. I love it. I love
do.
them for that. That's
There's
another
bugs,
reason
but
to love Bethesda.
it never breaks the experience. Like it's never. I mean, for the most part, it's never bad enough to where it's like, oh, this game is unplayable, or
there are certain bugs that people deal with where like it breaks a quest and you're just like, well, fuck, I'm screwed. I gotta.
That's true. That's true. There are. I remember a bug in Elder Scrolls Oblivion where I would walk through a door and it would take me into the door I just walked through. So it was like an infinite loop and I couldn't progress. And I was like, what the heck? And the only solution was to delete the game and start over. And I was like,
oh my God.
Yeah, because it was, Oblivion came out in like 2006, so and I was playing it on the Xbox 360, so it was like, yeah, there's no fix for this. Like, you just gotta start your game over. I was like,
So question, kind of
but-
off topic, kind of related. I know they were like floating around the idea of like updating their engine or starting with a new engine, which they
Starfield?
fucking need to, by the way.
Yeah.
Is that going to be with Starfield, or is that just like something they're working on in the background for?
I don't know.
I think Starfield was a modified version of the current engine, and then
Okay.
or no, maybe Starfield is the new engine. I don't know. I think for sure Elder Scrolls 6 is going to be a new engine, but that doesn't start production until Starfield releases.
Right.
So
I'm just saying, like, they need a new fucking engine. That thing is
they do.
way too out of date. Oh
They
my
Yeah.
god.
do. They really do need a new engine. I would argue, and like even between Fallout 4 and Fallout 76, like nothing's really different.
No, nothing at all.
Like,
Nothing's different with
like,
Skyrim either. It's basically
yeah.
the same thing as Oblivion. Honestly, it keeps going back. Like nothing
Yeah.
changes. They need to update this shit at this point.
Yeah, I think they will. If not with Starfield, then for sure with Elder Scrolls 6, they're gonna finally update their engine. I hope it's good because
Please, for the love of God.
yeah, I think it can only be better, honestly, at this point.
No.
But I mean, I take that back. Maybe not. I mean, it could
It
be
is
worse.
Bethesda
I
we're
wonder
talking about.
what engine do they even use?
I
Do you
think it's
know?
I think it's like an in-house one. I don't know if I don't think
Yeah,
it's like
that's what I
Unreal, like
thought.
everyone uses it.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't want everyone to move to Unreal Engine just because it's nice to have diversity, but
Yeah.
if you have Unreal Engine, you're gonna have a ton of support. So
Yeah.
there's that's
And
what
Unreal 5, holy fuck. Have you
Oh
guys
my
seen
God.
some of that
Yeah.
footage?
Yeah, we've played
It's-
some of it. We played the
Bro,
Matrix
We're in the uncanny
Resurrections.
valley. That shit is
I
scary.
know we are.
yeah.
It is uncanny. It looks like you're playing a movie.
Yeah, it's insane. Unreal Engine 5 is gonna be they're always big leaps, I would say. Unreal Engine 4 was a huge leap, and now 5 is another big leap. So I mean it's gonna be really, really awesome to see the kind of games we start getting from that.
Yeah.
I think the next Gears of War game is going to be made in Unreal Engine 5. Those games have always
Shit.
looked incredible.
Ooh.
So that's gonna be huge. But yeah, well anyways, anything else on the topic of Starfield being delayed before we move on?
No, nothing for
No.
me.
It's a good decision. Just
Yeah.
fucking
Yeah, it
delay it,
sucks,
don't-
but
Yep, I agree.
better in the long run. It's better in the long run. Just get it done.
Mhm.
So something that happened earlier, I guess it was earlier this week technically, or late last week. People were having trouble signing into Xbox Live, and the reason why this became such a big, we have little outages like this all the time.
Mhm.
You guys may remember back in 2011 when Sony got hacked. They were down for
Oh
like a
yeah,
whole
the
month.
DDoS. I remember
Yep.
that.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. So I mean,
That was Lizard
and-
Squad, right?
I think so. Maybe they did one on Xbox back in 2014, I think, or 2013, but that was only for I think a few days or a couple days, so it was
Mhm.
smaller. But or it may have even just been Christmas. I know it was Christmas Day that
Yeah.
happened, but yeah, I mean, so stuff like this happens. But the reason why people have made a big deal about it now is because some people, and I say some because I don't know anyone that experienced this, so I feel like it was a pretty small group, but some people were unable to play digital games that they had purchased because they were
Oh.
unable to sign into Xbox Live to
Jesus
validate the
Christ.
license.
Yep.
The reason why that happens is because Xbox specifically is on they call it DRM. It's basically that the console is always online and it's always checking for your license
Mhm.
to see your video game license. Now, supposedly, if you go into the settings and you have the Xbox console you're using set as your home console, that's less likely to happen or unable to happen. But apparently, some people were still having that issue as well. So, my question to you guys is, do you obviously there's some benefits to having a console that's always online, everything's always up to date, and it helps encrypt games to avoid hacking, things like that. There are some benefits, but when something like this happens where it's like you can't access a game that you purchased digitally, that's a big deal.
Bro,
It
that's
is.
scary as fuck.
It is
Honestly, like
scary.
Yeah.
that is
Yeah.
why I'm paranoid. I'm cynical. I trust nothing.
That
I
is why I still
prefer
buy physical games.
Yes, I was going to say that. I prefer buying physical games. I don't like them
Yeah.
moving to digital only. I don't like that there are digital only consoles. I don't like that at
Yeah.
all. I've got a big ass bookshelf of games right here. Like I
Yeah.
don't I don't
Yeah.
like the idea of something I buy that I own being able to be taken away from me.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Like getting like banned or your account getting deleted or hacked or whatever. It's like you
Mhm.
lose everything.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
fuck that. No.
Yeah.
So
The thing about digital is
physical
that
games.
you're really just borrowing a license to something.
Yeah.
It can
Yeah,
get
you're
taken
renting a
away.
game.
Or I remember there was a video company. It was like similar to iTunes, basically.
Mhm.
You know, where you can buy digital movies from. I don't remember what the name of the company was. But they closed down, and so what happened was they had to make sure that all of their anyone that purchased digital movies or shows through them, those had to be migrated to another company, because otherwise you would have lost. This was a smaller company. It was like, it wasn't Vidoc, I don't think, but it was one of those smaller, like, you know, companies. But that did happen, I think, just a year or two ago. And even though it ended up not being a big deal, because those people were just, you know, sent an email saying, okay, your digital movies can now be viewed through this app or through this company. It's like, okay, no big deal. But stuff like that can happen. I This would never happen, but let's say Apple went out of business. Imagine all the people that have movies on iTunes or music that just went away.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
Yep.
it can happen. And so for me personally, I like so whenever I purchase a movie, and I like that they do this now, you can buy 4K Blu-rays that usually include a standard Blu-ray and a digital copy as well. And it's usually like $5 more than buying just a Blu-ray or just buying, you know, whatever. So I don't buy a whole lot of movies these days because I mostly stream stuff. But whenever I do buy a physical movie, I always get that 4K Blu-ray digital combo, because it's like $5 more. I get two physical discs, and I get a digital copy. So
Yeah.
I can watch it on the go, and I can watch it at home. That's what I do. But I think having that physical option is always important because of stuff like this. And it is, you know, again, Microsoft does it to try to have it be beneficial with things like, you know, that's the reason why Xbox Live historically has always been more stable and less prone to hacking than something like PlayStation Network, because they're always online. Your console's always online, therefore you're always having, you know, security checks being run. Things are constantly being encrypted. That's why games tend to be. I think that's the reason why some game files are larger on Xbox than on PlayStation, is because of the encryption. That's also the reason why you're basically always downloading a game from the store. You know, a lot of times, even when you put in the disc, it'll download the game that's on the disc, but then whatever updates and everything you have to do come from the store, because, you know, of that encryption and everything. They're trying to avoid hacking as much as possible. So, you know, in theory, it's supposed to be a good thing, but then you have these situations where it also has negative side effects. I don't think the PlayStation has this issue. I don't think it's always online. So I don't know. It makes me more paranoid about a digital, you know,
My
an
thing,
only digital future. Yeah, go ahead.
my thing is like, you should be able to have your license attached to your console directly. Like, if it has to be digital, it should at least be digitally attached to something physical that you own.
Yeah,
right? So like
exactly.
it should be drawn. You should have all of the content anytime you download, even updates to a game. It should all be content. It should all be downloaded to your actual physical Xbox.
Mm-hmm.
Because then, unless you lose the actual physical Xbox, you don't lose the game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, that's
So.
that's very true. And I've heard that Microsoft is trying to do something to where you know, like, your console can be offline for so many days, and it'll like how do I explain this? So basically, like, let's say, you sign into Xbox Live, your console's online. Okay, it registers, all your game licenses, everything. You can go a certain amount of time with the console being offline to where it doesn't require, a need to look at the licenses again. So you can go. I think right now it's supposed to be, 2 days or something like that. But I think that time should be extended, especially for outages and things like that. It should be like a week or something like that.
Yeah.
I think that would be better. Now, obviously, there's, problems could come with that where, some people might be able to fudge with the licenses and get games that they don't actually have because, the console isn't able to check those licenses. I feel like people could find a way to fudge that, and that's why they don't want to do that. But I mean, I think if you're looking at both options, it's better to just have the one that allows you to be offline for longer and still have access to your games. Because it sucks to own something digitally and not be able to play.
Yeah, it does. It's a blatant. I agree with Nico. It's like something that I own is no longer like in my full possession. It's not okay.
Yeah. So I think something needs to be done about that for sure. And I think after what happened earlier this week, I do think hopefully Microsoft sees that, because I saw a ton of people complaining on Twitter. Like people were vocal about it for good reason. So hopefully Microsoft looks at that and tries to find a solution, some sort of solution.
Hopefully. I think what it's going to take is an entire system change. I think it's going to take them with their next console or whatever, putting in the hardware that makes it physically downloadable.
Yeah,
all their content.
Yeah, it's going to have to be a big change for sure. Their entire infrastructure basically is going to have to be modified
if they don't want this to happen anymore.
Yeah,
they could take a risk and not do it, but I don't think it'd be smart of them.
Yeah, no. I mean, it's kind of a double-edged sword, but I hope. I mean, if any company can do it, it's Microsoft. they can find a way. I think to make this work, and they should, and hopefully they do. Any other final thoughts on that? The outage?
I don't think so. Other than just like it's really scary, the idea that like your information, because like what comes along with that, what comes along with that possibility of getting a physical game stolen or getting a digital game like removed from your access is a bunch of other stuff that's attached to that, right? Your account is at risk for being manipulated. It's not just your license, it's your entire account that's at risk of being manipulated.
Yeah, that is true. And I think Microsoft does pretty good precautions against stuff like that. But losing access to a game that you own digitally that's not good. But I think the last topic I wanted to get to today, so 2 or 3 days ago, Rocksteady, I think is the developer behind this game, they gave us some new footage on the upcoming Gotham Knights game, and a lot of people have been anticipating this game. I've played all the Batman games. I thought they were good, and we haven't had one since Arkham Knight back in 2015, so a lot of people are looking forward to Gotham Knights.
I certainly am.
And we had some gameplay of it a little while ago, and
I didn't know that.
Excited. So they've shown off some gameplay of it, and you get to see some of the characters, their abilities, things like that. Looks pretty cool. And then just a few days ago, they put out, so the game got delayed, and people were like, oh, it was supposed to come out this spring, and then it got bumped to the fall. So okay, like 6-month delay, whatever. And after that, we didn't really hear anything, and then a month or two went by. We have more gameplay now. The game looks better, but that also came with the announcement that the Xbox One and PlayStation 4 versions of the game were scrapped. They're not going to release it on those consoles anymore. So that I'll give my short opinion on that, then throw it to you guys. My whole thing is, it sucks because they said it was going to come out on those consoles and then they went back on that. I think that's an issue, but ultimately they're trying to avoid releasing a game that shouldn't have existed on those older consoles, like Cyberpunk. So I don't know. I mean, what do you guys think about that? About the game not releasing on older consoles, despite saying initially that it was going to.
I mean, the first thing for me is that it's like, take a look at the player base, right? If your player base for a last gen console is still high enough, release it on the last gen console. Why not? What's the big problem?
Cyberpunk, that's why not.
Yeah,
Well, then there's that.
Yeah. They just don't want, I feel like they just don't want negative press.
Yeah.
But it also depends on, I mean, how long has this game been in development for? Do you think how bad would it have been on the older consoles? We don't know.
It's true. We'd have to have someone talk about it.
I mean, yeah, maybe one of the developers that was working on it. I'm curious to see how far in development those versions were before getting scrapped. But
same.
Nico,
because if it was minuscule, it's like whatever.
Yeah, Nico, do you see this as a good thing or a bad thing?
Kind of both. Because like I do agree that it sucks for like people who are looking forward to this and now just like can't play because they just still haven't gotten their hands on a next gen, or I guess technically current gen console. Because scalpers are still dicks.
Yeah. Yeah.
So there's that aspect, but then also it's like, we are getting into, this is the current gen at this point. Like at some point,
I agree with that.
People will stop making games for the previous gen.
Yeah, this is only going to happen more frequently as time goes on.
Exactly. And then the other part is like the quality of the game. Like, remember back when Black Ops 3 was on Xbox One and 360? Remember the difference in quality between those two? It was functionally the same. It was functionally the same game, but I remember this very clearly. The graphics, night and fucking day. It was almost hard to look at the 360 version after playing the Xbox One version. It was so stark, the contrast. It was unreal. The game was still functionally identical. It played perfectly fine, but it looked god awful, right?
Yeah.
That's fine. Cyberpunk,
functionally different.
Yeah.
Could not run on previous consoles. It simply did not.
Yeah.
If you somehow managed to load the game, by sheer miracle, the game loaded, it was so god awful to try to get to do anything. I got it on Series X and I had 3 noticeable bugs my entire 50 to 100 hours.
Same.
Like that was it.
Yeah. The Series X version was actually different from the
fine.
Xbox One
I mean,
version.
it was pretty buggy and it was like good content, but it was
like
fine.
Characters T-posing every once in a while or whatever, but like
walking through objects, it happens. Like that's a Bethesda game. Come on,
pretty much. We need to give them the grace of a Bethesda game.
Yeah, but But
see, like those are the two kinds of things where it's like, it could have been like Black Ops 3 and been, I mean, fine, a decent game, Or it could be like Cyberpunk. It's like, do not fucking release this on a previous gen. You will tank your company.
Yeah. So fun fact about go ahead.
No, go for it.
I was gonna say, fun fact about Black Ops 3. One, it didn't have the campaign mode at all. Was not included on the Xbox 360 and PlayStation 3 versions.
Really?
Also, it was actually made by another company. It wasn't made by Treyarch. They had a whole nother company port the game to the older consoles because
I did not know that.
They were just working on the other versions. Yeah. So, and that did happen towards the end of the 360 life cycle beginning of Xbox One and PlayStation 4 generation. That did happen a lot where they had other companies doing these ports, and a lot of them came out really bad. One that came out really good, I recommend checking out if you ever have free time. Rise of the Tomb Raider was initially an Xbox One exclusive, was a little bit later ported to the Xbox 360. The devs that did it did a phenomenal job.
Really?
Still looked and played really well, even on the 360. So there's good situations with that and bad. But with Gotham Knights, because I think one dev is doing all these different versions, if they think it would have been a Cyberpunk level disaster, then I say, just cut your losses and release it on the other versions. It's better to do that than to have the backlash from the fans. And
I do agree.
Those Batman games did have a dedicated fan base. A lot of people really liked those. And they need to make it good. And it wouldn't have been so bad if they hadn't said it was coming to these other consoles prior, because some people
Yeah.
were probably thinking, oh, okay, I'm happy with my PlayStation 4. I'll get it on this console and then maybe upgrade, later or something. That's
Yeah.
the only game I'm looking forward to, maybe. And now these people feel like they have to upgrade in order to play this game. So
Mhm.
it sucks in that regard. But at the same time, I mean, if the game is better for it, then I say, just make it happen that way. It is what it is. But I'm not a developer, so if they think it's gonna be worth it, then we just gotta trust them on that, I guess.
Mhm.
I feel like Cyberpunk has had a lot of impact on the industry as a whole. Like
Oh,
we expected
Totally,
it to.
totally, dude.
Like we expected it to,
Absolutely.
and thank fucking God it did. It was a wake up call.
Cyberpunk
For
will be
everybody.
historic.
Really, it will.
That is something that will. I mean, a game so hyped that was so flunked. I mean that will. I think forever go down in history and hopefully be a lesson.
I think
Well,
that's the thing
and
too,
Sky
yeah.
wasn't a lesson, so
Yeah,
yeah,
that's true.
it depends on the awareness of the developers, right? Like if they're willing to be blind, then I think they're not going to look at it as a lesson.
Again,
Yeah.
semantics, not the devs.
Yeah, that is
Well,
that
yeah.
is true. Well, anyways, boys, we're I've kept you here a little while. It's past 9 o'clock. Gonna go ahead and wrap this up. But hey, great discussions tonight.